Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's the girl EJ here. I hope you are finding blessing and being a blessing in whatever you are doing. So today I have prepared for you 10 things that you must know before you immigrate to Canada. So I've been getting this question on my podcast, and I thought I'd come on here and share with you some reasons based on my experience as well as those in my community. I actually have an episode with an immigration consultant who also does a Q&A for me about questions around immigrating to Canada.
Nobody should sell you a job. So if somebody is promising you a job offer, you need to know, for you to be able to do this job, or for the employer to be able to give you this job offer, would the employer be required to have a labor market impact assessment? If the answer is yes, so did this employer obtain a labor market impact assessment? So if the answer is no, then it's not likely that this is a valid job offer.
So I'm not an immigration consultant, but I got one to do that. So make sure you click on the link up here and go watch that video addressing some more complex technical questions around immigrating to Canada. So let's get on to the conversation, but make sure that you go grab a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or a glass of water, or maybe some wine, and come on back and let's get on to the conversation. Okay, welcome guys. I hope that you now have your drinks, your snack. Let's get on to the topic. So you want to come to Canada, eh? Let me tell you some of the things that you must know so that you are not completely shocked or in huge distress when you get here. Let's get started. Number one is high taxes. It is high in Canada. Looking up there on my screen, you will see that taxes in Canada for income tax ranges from 15% all the way up to 33%, depending on how much money you make. So it's so important, especially for people who come here and they do multiple jobs. The more you work, the more you're gonna pay. Just make sure you know that. There's also provincial taxes on top of that. There's also what they call sales tax. There is GST all across the provinces in Canada. So regardless of where you are, you will pay at minimum a 5% GST. And then there is what is called a PST, a provincial sales tax. And that is on top of the GST, the goods service tax, based on where you're located. So where I'm located here in Alberta, we do not have a PST. Yes, thank goodness. And people have always wanted, a PST applied for good economic reasons to kind of help the economy. But, the rest of us, we just don't want that tax. What you need to keep in mind as an immigrant coming to Canada is when you go to the store to buy something, just know that the tag that you see, it says $2.99. It's not $2.99. It is $2.99 plus your GST, if it's 5%, plus your PST, depending on where you work, which could be 7%, 11%, or what have you. Number two, I think this one should probably be number one. It's the weather, guys. It is cold down here. It is cold. It is cold. Did I say that enough? It is cold. As far as I'm concerned, it is cold like more than 50% of the year. Like 6 months out of the year is cold. It's supposed to be winter from, let's say, like November all the way down to February, but it's really winter from like September all the way till like April. And sometimes it snows in May and June. Now, it depends on where you are. For the most part, this is the reality if you live in Canada. If you live in a place like Vancouver, British Columbia, they have a really mild winter over there. Halifax, I've lived there. It's not too bad as well. It's pretty mild. Number three on my list is the language. So Canada has two official languages, English and French. For the most part, French is predominantly spoken in the province called Quebec. And everywhere else, they do speak quite a lot of English. So where I live in Alberta is predominantly English. Something else I want to mention with the language here, guys, is there is all kinds of subtle communication in Canada. There's all kinds of hidden communication, reading between the lines. So people say things like, hey, how you doing? They're not actually asking you to tell them your life story on how you're doing. And maybe you were sick and you had diarrhea all the way, like for days and hours. They're asking you how you're doing at work or at school or on the streets. They're not asking you to actually tell them how you're doing. It's just a courtesy. It's just a greeting. So you're just going to say, I'm doing good. Hey, what's up? I hope you're doing good too. Bye. So number four, actually, on my list is the healthcare. Now, Canada has a free healthcare system overall. So you want checkup, you can just go to the doctor. You're having a headache, you feel cold, you're sick, whatever the case may be, you just show your healthcare card and you basically get attention free of charge. Now, this is for people who are citizens, people who are permanent residents, students as well, because, they are covered under the student tuition, refugees as well. But if you are a visitor, this is not something that applies for you. You would need to have purchased your medical insurance or your travel insurance before you got here so that you can access medical care just in case you got sick while you're visiting, okay? There is certain coverage that you will not have under your healthcare plan. Number 5 is what I'm calling the issue of loneliness. Now, when I moved here to Canada, I was much younger. I was born in Canada, guys, by the way. However, I moved back with my parents when they were going back to Nigeria. And then I came back much, much earlier and much younger in my life with my elder sister. So I had someone to talk to at the end of the day. I wasn't absolutely lonely, but I did miss having a community around me, having like friends to go to, having like my extended family members, my parents. And that's what a lot of people complain about here, is just the loneliness, especially if you come alone by yourself. The loneliness can be grueling. It can be intense. And people sometimes want to just go back to where they came from because of that community that they lack. I do want to point out here, guys, is that most ethnic groups here have what they call like a community league or like a community membership association. So for example, Nigeria has a Nigerian association in Edmonton. They have a Nigerian association in Calgary. They have a Nigerian association, like in different cities, there will be association and sometimes multiple ones in one province. So you want to reach out to that association, let them know you're coming from, wherever, so that they can hook you up. And then you're not entirely trying to figure this all out by yourself. It is overwhelming. Number 6 on my list here is everything is expensive in Canada. Like even those of us here in Canada, we go to the United States to go shop for certain things. Okay, I do that too. When there's like Black Friday and Boxing Day and even regular days, you can get better deals there than you will get here in Canada. Even like the McDonald's in the US is cheaper. Even the Walmart in the US is cheaper than Canada. So it is expensive in Canada. Food is expensive. Mortgage is expensive. Buying a house, renting a house, driving a car, whatever. It's expensive in Canada. So some cities, some provinces are a little bit cheaper than the other. So typically the most expensive place to live in Canada right now is British Columbia, followed by Ontario. Do your research before you take that step so that you're sure that you can afford the lifestyle there. So let me give you an example, guys. If you live in a place like here in Edmonton, where I live, a 2-bedroom apartment with, in-suite laundry, you typically will get that in a nice neighborhood for like, let's say $1,200, okay? $1,200 per month. That's what you gotta know here, guys. Rent is not per year, it's per month. Now, if you're coming from a place like Nigeria, and let's say you pay your rent is 1.5 naira. So I'm just gonna pick a random number. Let's say 1.5, you live like now, relatively kind of average neighborhood in a place like Lagos, or you live like in a high-end place in a place like Owerri in Imo State, and your rent is 1.5 million naira a year, okay? That only equates to about 3,000 Canadian dollars here. I just told you a minute ago that rent for a 2-bedroom apartment or condo or townhouse is at least $1,200. Typically, a lot of people over here pay like 50% of your salary, sometimes more, and it shouldn't be, but sometimes people pay 40% and up of their entire income on rent or their housing alone, because it is that expensive. For example, in a place like Vancouver or in a place like Toronto, you ain't even gonna get any place for $1,200. Another thing I want to mention with the whole rent situation is rent here, or if you buy a house here, your mortgage payment here is biweekly or monthly. Your rent monthly for sure. So you're not going to get any place that is going to be taking rent yearly because it's too expensive. I mean, think about it. If your rent is $1,200 or $1,500 a month, how can you raise rent for 12 months, like upfront? It's not possible. And this means that your bills just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because bills, a lot of bills in here, guys. But food can be cheaper. Just again, you have to be smart. Depends on where you shop. A quick tip that I would like to tell people here is if you shop in high-end grocery stores like Sobeys, Safeway, Save on Food, these kind of places, city markets, they tend to be super, super expensive for groceries. You want to be looking for Walmart. You want to look for Costco. You want to look for the superstores. You want to look for the No Fruits. You want to look for Freshco. These are the grocery stores that will give you better bang for your buck. You don't want to be shopping on those upscale grocery stores that I just mentioned. Something else, travel is expensive, guys. I'm still talking about everything is expensive in Canada, and I just want to touch on a few things. If you say that you want to go from, let's say here, Edmonton, which is where I'm at, and you want to travel down to Toronto, it's going to cost you, on a good day, $600. On a bad day, $1,000 to go there. Now, with that kind of money, you probably already traveled to Vegas in the United States, even paid hotel for the weekend, and came back with some change. Also, one thing I should mention here with travel, it can be difficult to get around here. So if you're coming here and you're coming here without funds to pay for a car right away, you will likely have to take the bus. So if you're a student, an advice for you here real quick is make sure that you are getting accommodation that is close to your school so that you don't have to stress yourself too much about waiting outside in the cold, because it gets super cold and then you miss the bus, you gotta wait again, or the bus comes late, you gotta wait again. And the shelters, guys, it's like an open space. It's not like they are like covered and insulated and warmed up, unless you're like in a subway. But otherwise, you're basically standing outside on a post, okay? And all the wind is slapping across your face. I mean, take a look at this picture I have here for you. This is what you will look like when you get in winter. You are covered, absolutely covered. It is cold that even your eyelash can have frost on it when you're outside. Another thing is be savvy. Make sure you have like the bus stop number downloaded to your phone. Call, every bus stop has a number, call it in advance and make sure that you know when the bus is coming, and then, you know, Google map it and make sure that you are not too far away. Check the weather. I check the weather. I've spent all my life here, you know, mostly, but I check the weather multiple times a day when I'm going out. Because the reason you do that in a place like here, for example, you can wake up and it's looking all sunny and beautiful and you think it's nice and you go out without a jacket. And then you wait, by the time it's lunchtime, it's like snowing. And by the time it's time to go home, it's raining. So basically you can have 3 weather seasons in one day in some places here in Canada. So really important that you check the weather and that you're well prepared before you head outside. Number 7 on my list is get identification, guys. And you probably don't have like a driver's license for Canada. You don't have like healthcare card and all of that. When you get here, that should be the first thing you do. Get identification card so that you don't have to lug around your passport everywhere you're going. And, you know, you don't want to lose that stuff. And that's just scary. So get identification. And the first identification I encourage you to get is your social insurance number. There's a white card that they give you. You need to apply for that. That's basically you. That's your whole identity. That's everything about you. So you do not want to lose that card. In fact, if you can and you get that card, memorize that number and keep that card at home somewhere. Another ID that you should get right away is a driver's license. So if you already drive, let's say you're from Nigeria or you're from China, you already drive, you need to make sure that you do not throw away that driver's history. That is important information that will help you over here, because here, their driving is a process. So you're not just going to apply, do the road test, and they give you the card. No, you have to do the learners, which is basically a written test. You read and you go do the test. And then after that, you go through the, the driving school, and then you go get what they call a graduated license, GDL. And then you have to wait, like it depends on your province. So here you have to wait 1 year in Alberta and drive with that license for 1 year. And when you're driving with that license, you can't drive by yourself, by the way. You have to drive with somebody who has a full license, a class 5 license in the car for a year. And then you come back and write the road test. And if you pass, you get your class 5. So it's so important that you bring your license from wherever you're coming from, because many times that license, you could get to use it for up to 6 months. A lot of information to cover here, and I'm just trying to run through it. So moving on to number 8.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. I have to switch recording station because my laptop died. So now I'm just recording on my phone. So number 8 is what I'm calling have a plan. If you're coming here and you are going to be an international student, obviously you've already decided what you want to do. So if you're coming here and you get here, unfortunately something happens, the course or the program you picked out doesn't work, you want to communicate this immediately to a student advisor or to your student counselor. So wherever you're going to school, if you're struggling with your program, it's okay. I know a lot of us, we come here, we set our minds, we want to do engineering, we want to do one white collar profession or the other, but you get here and you find out that you're not cut out for engineering and you want to do accounting instead. You need to communicate that right away. That's not a problem. Just talk to your professor, talk to a student advisor, and they will guide you through that process. I know some of us, our parents already told us, you this one, doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer. You might get here and that's not going to work out. And it's okay too. And something that I want to mention here too is the whole attitude about professions that are less than, from back home, like Nigeria, where I come from, for example, people don't look at like plumbers and electricians and carpenters as the it, right? So the its are like doctors and lawyers and whatnot. But really, many times these blue collar jobs, they actually pay more than some of the white collar jobs. So don't be afraid to consider trades when you get here. Don't rely on your brain alone. A lot of us are really smart people. We are just getting A's all day long back home. And then you come here, you think that you can keep getting A's all day long. And maybe you can get A's all day long too. But there are certain projects that you do that requires collaboration with other people in your class. So being able to mingle, reach out, communicate with other people in your class is so crucial and is so important. And reaching out to your professor when you have questions, I cannot emphasize this, guys. I know a lot of people who come here. As a matter of fact, look at this podcast episode that I have on here. Is with a Nigerian student who is an average 95% student. Average, okay? In all his courses as an engineer, that was his score. But however, he actually failed a course and was on the verge of becoming of being on probation, academic probation, and being essentially kicked out of the school. What happened is he had the same name with somebody else in that class, and so his grades were given to this other person, and they did not know until he was repeating the course for the second time. So this is why you need to communicate. This is why if you have questions, you doubt your grade, you doubt an assignment, you don't understand something, please reach out to the professors. They are not like back home where you have to call them sir and ma, and you have to be pleasing them, and they'll just say, hey, you don't have respect. You know how some of our professors can be back home. They are not like that. As a matter of fact, they want you to call them by their first name, and you're super excited when you reach out to them about questions because it shows that you're interested and you're willing to learn. Another thing that somebody shared in my community is that as soon as possible, apply for your PR. So if you're here as a student, as soon as possible, you want to apply for your PR, your permanent residence, because every year the points towards becoming a PR, they go up. You want to pick a province where you think you will find it easier to get a job. It can be really it is difficult to get a job period these days, right? However, if you move to a place like Vancouver, you move to a place like Toronto, it will be tooth and nail hard to get a job. And point number 9 is racism. I don't think that a lot of us experience racism back home in Africa. So when you come here, that's when you know the meaning and the definition of racism. In fact, if you listen to my podcast that is linked up here, you hear where 2 students talk about the experience with prejudice and racism in the different parts that they've lived in outside Canada. So they share their experience living in those countries as students and as immigrants. So it's so important that you're aware that it's very possible that you will experience racism. You will experience racial slurs, you will experience prejudice, but you have to be that bigger person to speak up, right? If you see someone else experience it as well, you also want to stand in the gap and be a voice and speak up. Number 10 is what I'm calling money, lifestyle, and expectation. If you are already a rich big man or big madam back home, so let's say like in Nigeria, for example, you have your personal maid, you have a chef, you have a driver, you have a nanny, you have it all. Like all you do is just go to work, come back, your meal is served, the house is clean, the driver takes you out, and your garbage is taken out. Like you don't do anything. If that's your lifestyle, you want to think really hard before you come to a place like Canada. You know why? Because you are your driver. You are your own chef. You are your nanny. You are your cleaner. You are the cook. You are everything. Okay? It's one person. The minute you decide that you want to hire somebody else, remember when I talked about bills, it's more bills again. It's super expensive. So everybody does it all, and Canada will humble you. Most people cannot get rich on 9-to-5 jobs. So if you're already rich back home, if you're already making it back home, if you're already on another level, living large, you know that new flavor song called Levels, you're kind of balling like that, you know, you got to think, guys, because here, especially if you have kids and you have little ones that are in childcare, when you come here, childcare alone for one child under the age of 3 is at least where I live, is at least $950. Remember when I told you that rent could be $1,500? Now add that. That's a lot of money on just 2 bills, and you haven't paid anything else. And sometimes people just move back because, in fact, it didn't work out for them, so they just move back. So if you're someone that, you know, you stay home and then the other person works full time and takes care of the family, this is something you want to think about as well. In Canada, it is absolutely difficult, if not impossible, in my opinion, to live on one person's salary. Remember when I showed you the tax brackets? So think about it. Even if you made $100,000 every year, you will be taxed at least 30%. So that's $30,000 just gone. And now you're living on $70,000 with all the other bills. So if only one person, you're a family of 3, a family of 4, and one person is working, it is difficult. So this is something you have to think about. If you're already chilling and you're relaxing back home and only one person is working and all the bills can be taken care of, when you come here, you and your partner have to decide before you even come here if you will be working. The last item I have here on my list is what I'm calling cultural learning. Now, this is for those people that are like, do you know who I am? I am your elder. So people that are not used to being in a diverse and inclusive community. Canada is very inclusive, is very diverse. It is a multicultural nation. So you can be here and you're working for somebody who is like 20 years your junior, or your boss is a woman. So if you are that kind of man, so I'm speaking to the African men right now, especially my Nigerian men. So if you're one of those men that you can't take direction from a woman because you are ordinary woman, or you are one of those people that I am your elder, how can you be talking to me? They will be talking to you because that is part of your job, to tell you what to do. So if you can't take direction from other people, if you are one of those people that you're too quick to raise your hands, Canada is not for you. Just chill where you are, because if not, you might end up in the police station. This is a really important one, guys. Really, really important. And I cannot emphasize this enough. If you think that you fall in this category, you should be changing and thinking about your ways anyway. But you definitely don't belong in Canada. But hey, I want everybody to come to Canada. I'm not sharing any of this because I don't want people to come to Canada. As a matter of fact, I want you to come to Canada so that you can see what we are seeing over here. Come and join us and shovel the snow. And those of you that think that there's money on the streets because, you know, there's tree money and you can just pick it up everywhere, the only thing that you will be picking up is snow and leaves. So, but come join us and come enjoy. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for you in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope that you found it meaningful. And as always, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you enjoyed. Let me know what resonated with you. I hope this helps you and prepares you if you are thinking about immigrating to Canada. Until next time, remember to do what is right and kind. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.